everybody, I'm Lisa from Sweet and Sassy Treasures, and I am here to share with you what I made from the IOD Summer Collection 2023, and I can't wait to show you. If you'd like to see more videos from the IOD Summer 2023 collection, go ahead and click the link in the description. I'm going to start by painting my board in a dark gray, and now I'm going to go in with a random mix of a lighter gray and a white. I've already used resin to pour the Juliet mold, and it's beautiful. It all connects and pulls out in one piece. It has so much detailing, and I can't wait to use it on this project. Now what I need to do is I'm going to use the Frames 2 mold with air dry clay to form a couple of bands of this roping detailed piece right here. The one piece from Trimmings 2 made out of clay, and I've lined that up with the bottom and I've trimmed the edge. Then I'm going to use the Juliet mold and I'm going to glue that in place. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other Trimmings mold. Just a little tip, to make sure that I got this trimming straight, I used T, and I lined it up along the edge, and then I just butt the trimming piece up to that. And that way I know that that's nice and straight. And then I can straighten out everything else with respect to that. We're going to be using the new Trompe Bleu paint inlay, and it is a dreamy 4-sheet inlay. It has these beautiful florals. It comes in 2 colors, the blue and then a real vintagey brown color. And then it has these fabulous trim pieces. And look at these. Aren't they beautiful? So what I want to do is I'm going to use one of the roses in that top section. So I'm going to cut that out, and I'm just going to cut along the lines that are on the carrier paper, which I love. It makes lining things up so easy. So we're going to use one of those. And then what I'm thinking, initially at least, is I'm going to look at one of these. They're a little bit tighter than the wispy ones, and I'm going to cut that out. I'm painting all of the trim pieces with a base coat of white paint. So I'm building this from the bottom up so that I have room to space out my paint inlays. In this section, I trimmed this little piece off without using a grid line because it went in the middle. So I'm going to use the side with the grid line to butt up against my trimming piece. I'm going to inlay into a white paint, and then I will somewhat wipe back, dry brush back. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do, but I want this to be whiter. The grid lines on here are going to help me space it too. I want this to be in the middle. So if I use that grid line to that grid line, I'm good to go. So I'm going to cut those right there. So I'm going to take some white paint and go over that section, and you want to inlay into nice wet paint. So I'm going to go edge to edge line this up and press it down. So it didn't go quite up far enough at the top. So I'm just going to drop a little bit of paint in there. And I don't know if you saw, but it's already starting to transfer. So I'm going to take the straight edge, and I like my paper to wrinkle. I like the character and the age that that adds. Then I like to take one of these blue shop cloths and really rub that in. And now I will spritz it with water. And I'm not worried about, you know, what else is going there. There's going to be another trimming piece, one of these that's going to go up there. So I'm spritzing this with water. And I want to really coax that paint off of the carrier paper. And then I'm going to take my blue rag and wipe that in. I am not going for perfect here. So now I'm going to dry it. And I've done a lot of testing with the paint inlays to see what optimal time is for me. And it is pretty much, once I dry the inlay into paint, it's different with a sealer. I can wait like 3 to 5 minutes. Now I'm just going to wait a few minutes. And this is going to go evenly spaced in this section. Okay, I've waited a few minutes. I'm going to spritz my paper. And that's, if I don't spritz my paper, then the paint from the inlay is going to be more likely to pull the paint underneath it back too. So I'm just more convincing it to release nicely. Just going to take a quick peek. That is beautiful. So I'm going to dry that, and then I have to spray seal it so that it doesn't run when I do all of my other steps. Okay, so I've got my glue on my piece, and I want to make sure that this trimming piece is nice and straight. So I've got my guide on there, and I'm going to flip this over. And that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to move that trimming piece up to that bottom edge. So I'm just going to get a good coat of paint on here. So I'm just going to spritz my paint. That's going to make sure that it's wet. And then I'm going to put this, make sure it's upside right. Put this where I want it. Now you got to be a little bit careful. Because it does start to transfer fairly quickly. Remember, I like the wrinkles. And now I'm going to spritz. I have once put an inlay on upside down. You want to make sure that you can see the grid lines really well. That tells you that it's the back. Okay, I'm going to coax that off my paper and use the brayer again. And then I like to just dab that up. Okay, that's been about 3 minutes. So I'm going to spritz. I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to wipe back along those edges. So I think that's good for that part. So the next thing we're going to do is dry brush that in, but I'm going to go ahead and seal this first. Next, what we're going to do is we're using the new Dainty Flourishes mold, and this is such a wonderful complement to the rest of the IOD molds. It's going to go really well with acanthus, classic elements, and olive crust. It just kind of rounds out the family. I love this element here that's like an arrow. And then this wider flourish right here. But the ones that we're going to use are these 2 corner pieces. And I'm going to use the dark gray paint that I started with to go over my trimming pieces. Now that it's dried, I'm going to take a baby wipe and I'm going to wipe the gray paint off the braids because I just want the gray paint to sit in the recesses. So I've wiped off the tops of these, and what I want to do is get to the background to get more of the darker colors in the back to soften. So I'm taking like a stencil brush, a stiffer bristled brush, and just kind of scrubbing in those areas. And that's going to help pull back some of that darker color and make it look more aged instead of just kind of a deliberate. To dry brush the top to blend things in. So I'm just going to kind of drag it from the side in. and then I will go over it again. Just layering my whites. I don't want to go too thick the first time. And I'm also going to do a white wash over these elements up here, so I'll do that right now. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. I'm going to flip my board. Let's take a look at the final finish of my piece. I was really undecided as to what I wanted to do to build up the depth and character of the entirety of the piece. So what I ended up doing is I mixed up a custom color that was the same color as the blue in the inlay, and I laid that on there. And then I went over it with a gold metallic. I wiped that back. And then I just watered down some white paint, let that dry, and pulled that back. It is all finished, and I could not be more excited. So you can see the gloriousness of the new inlay, elements from one of the new IOD molds, and the gorgeous Juliet. I cannot wait to see what you guys make. Be sure to let me know in comments which of the new products is your favorite.